Is this a lot to ask for, to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine?
Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
The First Lady's husband contracting COVID, but look.
President Biden, do I have my mic on? I don't. Oh no, here it is. Here we go. President Biden says that, President Zelensky addressed Congress this morning. We've got a lot of clips from that. President Biden made some gaffes. Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, said some interesting things about urban communities. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Got my mic on, so we're good to go. Daily Caller Live starts right about now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from downtown Phoenix, Arizona, in a nice little hotel here. Daily Caller Live coming at you today. On today, it is March 16th, year of our Lord 2022. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in to Daily Caller Live. President Zelensky addressed Congress today, this morning, a couple hours ago. 2 hours ago, an hour ago. I'm going to play these clips from the speech that he gave in Congress today via video, obviously. These are a little bit long. Stick with them. They actually get pretty interesting. This first clip is a little bit difficult to hear because there's a translator and they didn't really lower the vocal on Zelensky all that much or enough. We're going to play this clip and discuss on the other side. Check this out.
Remember Pearl Harbor, terrible morning of December 7, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you. Just remember it. Remember September the 11th, a terrible day in 2001 when evil tried to turn your cities, independent territories, in battlefields, when innocent people were attacked from air. Yes. Just like no one else expected it. You could not stop it. Our country experiences the same every day.
So that's Zelensky invoking the remembrance of Pearl Harbor and 9/11. A couple things to know before we go into this next part, because he makes the big ask, right? Everybody's wondering, well, is he going to ask for no-fly zone? He does make the big ask. We play that. Oh, that's the next clip coming up. But before we talk about that, I want to get to what's going on. Kyiv entered a 36-hour curfew on Tuesday night that will extend to Thursday morning. Leaders in Poland, Slovenia, and the Czech Republic arrived in the Ukrainian capital on Tuesday to meet with Zelensky. If you didn't hear that story, that's kind of nuts. Leaders, again, from Poland, Slovenia, and the Czech Republic all went into Ukraine and went into Kyiv. They didn't say anything. You might have thought, hey, we're going to announce this so that Vladimir Putin knows that, hey, other world leaders, especially of Poland, are going to be in Ukraine. Hey, maybe ease it on the shelling for a little bit. But they didn't. They just kind of went in across the borders and met with Zelensky. So that was really interesting yesterday. A video address on Wednesday, Zelensky said that the positions of the Ukraine and Russia at peace talks were actually becoming more realistic. So who knows what that means? That's not coming out of Putin. It's coming out of Zelensky, who again saying in his address to Congress is saying that, hey, peace talks are becoming a little bit more realistic here. So we'll see how that plays out. Let me get to this. This is the big ask of Zelensky of Congress. Check this out.
Right now, at this moment, every night for 3 weeks now, various Ukrainian cities, Odessa and Kharkiv, Chernihiv and Sumy, Zhytomyr and Lviv, Mariupol and Dnipro, Russia has turned the Ukrainian sky into a source of death for thousands of people. Russian troops have already fired nearly 1,000 missiles at Ukraine, countless bombs. They use drones to kill us with precision. This is a terror that Europe has not seen for 80 years, and we are asking for a reply, for an answer to this terror from the whole world. Is this a lot to ask for? To create a no-fly zone over Ukraine to save people? Is this too much to ask? Humanitarian no-fly zone, something that that Russia would not be able to terrorize our free cities. If this is too much to ask, we offer an alternative. You know what kind of defense systems we need, S-300 and other similar systems. You know how much depends on the battlefield, on the ability to use aircraft, powerful, strong aviation.
So again, that's Zelensky making the big ask. Can you guys please do a no-fly zone? Couple things that I think we want to make very clear here, because I want to get into some of the polling around no-fly zones, which has been really, really interesting, what the American people actually think about actually instituting a no-fly zone, and then what they think when the question has changed a little bit. But I'll say this, I don't blame him for asking. I would ask too. That doesn't necessarily mean that the United States should act upon it as if our own interests should be the top priority. And also, I did appreciate at the end of it, he said, hey, if this is too much to ask, the lesser ask is arm us more, which we are doing. We are sending a ton of military equipment, jets, planes, missiles to Ukraine as we speak, as much as humanitarian aid. So this is what I thought was super, super interesting regarding the no-fly zone. Then I got one more clip to play from Zelensky. He did speak in English, which he doesn't speak in English. This is fascinating. I know I see there are a couple thousand of you watching right now. Click the little like button, click the little share button over here. Would one, really appreciate it, but two, a bunch of people need to see this, because I feel like this poll is fantastically indicative of the American people and how they view things. So YouGov CBS did a poll, which was, again, this is very interesting, and it's all about how these questions are asked. It seemed like over the weekend and the beginning of this week, a lot of the developed world, a lot of Americans, Europeans, and therefore their representatives in the government were starting to lean towards the no-fly zone. The thing that we've been saying for weeks here is the same thing that Marco Rubio has been saying and Nancy Pelosi has been saying, two people who don't generally agree on things with each other. We've been saying, do people understand what a no-fly zone means? And this poll was fascinating. CBS asked the question, you know what? I've got the exact wording of it right here. Give me one quick second to pull it up. CBS YouGov poll asked, do you support or oppose a no-fly zone over Ukraine? And as you can see on this graph, it is 60-40. Make it a little bit bigger for you here so you can see it. 60-40 of the American people support a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Okay, so there's that. But then if you add a little bit of a qualifier, the numbers flip drastically. Look at this. They then asked the question of the same audience, by the way, do you support or oppose a no-fly zone over Ukraine if it is viewed as an act of war? The numbers flip. It goes from 60-40 saying support a no-fly zone to 60-40 against a no-fly zone, almost exactly flipped. If they add the qualifier of if it's seen as an act of war, which, just so you know, Putin would absolutely consider that an act of war. So, one, issues-based polling is very, very difficult because it takes into massive account how the question is being asked. And two, when do the qualifiers stop? If they added this question if they just keep adding things to the question, and I'll explain what I'm meaning here, how often or how much does this change? If they ask the question, do you support a no-fly zone? Maybe people say yes. And then they say, do you support a no-fly zone if it means it's viewed as an act of war? People say, no, I don't want that. And then they might ask, do you support a no-fly zone if it's seen as an act of war, but it saves thousands of children? Then yes, absolutely. And then what if they ask, do you support a no-fly zone if it's viewed as an act of war, but it saves thousands of children, but also costs millions of lives in a bigger world war? And then people say no. There's a bunch of different qualifiers that can go to this question, which is why issues-based polling is kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, I think it seems pretty clear a lot of people don't want Ukraine to get bombed, but two, don't want the United States to enter into an act of war with Russia. If I'm going to be fair about this, for the people who still think that we should institute a no-fly zone, even if it's considered an act of war, the one big question that I think a lot of us should ask, or how is this being viewed? Does this mean, and this is a bigger, broader question, does this mean if you have a nuclear weapon, you can kind of just do whatever you want because everybody's afraid of what you'll do? That's the question that I think the world is going to be asking when they're looking at this Russia situation. I want to play this part of Zelensky's address. This is the part he spoke in English and made some, talked about President Biden a little bit, and just check this out.
Strong doesn't mean weak. Strong is brave and ready to fight for the life of his citizens and citizens of the world, for human rights, for freedom, for the right to live decently and to die when your time comes, and not when it's wanted by someone else, by your neighbor. Today, the Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine, we're fighting for the values of Europe, the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future. That's why today the American people are helping not just Ukraine, but Europe and the world to keep the planet alive, to keep justice in history. Now I'm almost 45 years old. Today my age stopped when the hearts of more than 100 children stopped beating. I see no sense in life if it can't stop the death. And this is my main mission as the leader of my people, great Ukrainians. And as the leader of my nation, I'm addressing the President Biden. You are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
Glory to Ukraine.
So that was President Zelensky again a couple hours ago, ending his speech in English, telling the Biden administration, please be the world leader of peace. Now, I think the Biden administration is in a difficult spot because, one, people who are rational, people who understand the ramifications of creating a no-fly zone in a lot of cases understand what that would mean. And the administration has been holding off on that for a long time. Like, hey, we don't want to do this because of these implications that could arise and the problems that we could have because of this. But now even people in his own party are going to get roused by this and say, President Biden, we need to institute a no-fly zone over Ukraine. I think a couple things need to be clear, and we've said this before, and we'll say it again. If we institute a no-fly zone, that means that either NATO partners or the United States ourselves have to shoot down Russian planes, because 100% Vladimir Putin would test that. And then what happens next? That is the big $1 million question that nobody has an answer to. And if anybody claims they have an answer to it, they're lying to you. So there's that. So we'll take a little break from this Ukraine stuff. Over the course of the day, it's going to be interesting to see how this speech is played in the media, in the minds of Congress, and in the minds of the voters. We will see how that happens. This is a complete change of direction. I don't have a smooth transition for this, but Mayor Pete, the transportation secretary, said some things on 60 Minutes that I thought were kind of interesting. I don't know, what are gas prices like where you are? Where I live, I've been taking pictures every single day of the gas station, like a couple blocks from my house. It was it was $4.60. We were gone for a week. Then it was $5. Then the next day it was $5.25. Then the next day after that it was $5.40. And now I think it's up to like $5.63. I live in Southern California. I'm not there now, but that's what gas prices are like where I live. Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary for the Biden administration, just thinks you should just buy an electric vehicle. Here's what he said on 60 Minutes that I thought was fascinating. If you haven't already, click the little like button, click the little share button. Would really appreciate it. Helps us stay on the airwaves doing what we're doing. Watch this from Mayor Pete.
So when you say you're making it easier to drive electric vehicles, you're talking about charging stations.
We're putting together a network of 500,000 charging stations around the country. I do want people to understand electric charging is going to be a little bit different than gas stations. Now, there may be electric charging at gas stations, but one thing you could never do with a gas station is charge at your house. And if you have a single family home, your charging infrastructure is literally the plug in the wall. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. But what if you live in a multifamily dwelling? And especially for some of the urban, lower income people who stand the most to gain by having an electric car and saving that gas money, but only if they have a place to charge it. And then rural folks who could gain a whole lot because they drive long distances and they're going to save a lot of gas money. But if they're driving long distances, they got to know that there's going to be a charging station out there.
Hey, you dummies. If you want to save on gas money, just buy an electric car, says Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who is unrealistic, trying to cure the world of any sort of pollution tomorrow. I cannot afford one. Tammy says, I can't afford an electric vehicle in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section. You feel free to comment on these. I peruse through these all the time. John Evans says what I'm thinking and what everybody's thinking. Just buy an electric vehicle. Duh. I want to get to a couple statistics that you might not know. Tesla is the biggest electric vehicle manufacturer, not only in the United States, but I think in the world. So Tesla's the biggest electric vehicle maker. They're massively expensive. Nobody even comes close. They're never invited to anything the administration does, but that's besides the point. But I want to bring this to people's attention. Since 2009, Tesla has produced a total of 1.9 million vehicles. In 2021, in the first 8 months of 2021, they sold 473,000. Tesla has manufactured in the first 2 quarters of 2021. These are the most recent numbers. Tesla manufactured 386,000 vehicles in the first 2 quarters alone. So in the last 13 years, Tesla has made 1.9 million vehicles produced, manufactured, sold. So 2 million vehicles in 13 years, 12 years. Let's just say 12 years, give them the benefit of the doubt. There are 330 million people in the United States of America. There are about 300 million cars. Tesla is the biggest producer and biggest seller of electric cars by far, and it's not even freaking close. And in 12 years, they've made 2 million. So tell me, Mr. Pete Buttigieg, even if we could all afford electric vehicles, if the biggest company in the world, the biggest car company in the world, I think the most valuable car company in the world, can't match the production to supply not everybody, but less than 0.5% of the population with electric vehicles, how are you going to make that happen? And also, why then, if a percent of people are driving electric vehicles, which is about what the number is, if a single percent of people are driving electric vehicles, why are we going to spend trillions of dollars building electric vehicle charging stations? The government didn't do that for gas stations. The private sector took care of that pretty dang well. But Pete Buttigieg says, well, people just buy electric vehicles, even though there's not enough of them, and they're massively expensive, and there's no charging infrastructure that the private sector should build. You should still buy them. Belittling the people that can't afford it. I want to end with this. This is the president yesterday. This is apropos of nothing. He didn't really say anything that's going to cause damage on the global stage, other than the fact that just another consistent example of the Biden gaffes. And this also, I don't necessarily know, is because he's an old senile man. He's been making gaffes like this his entire career, but it was funny, so I wanted to bring it to you because, I don't know, it's funny. Preface, Emroff? What's the second what's Kamala's husband's name? Doug Emroff, something like that. He got COVID. He's going to be fine. Don't even worry about it. That's not part of the story. But here's President Biden telling this press conference, or this conference that he's at, that Emroff, the second gentleman, has COVID.
Stage, but that's enough too. Look at the stage. But there's been a little change in the arrangement of who's on the stage because of the First Lady's husband contracting COVID. But look at this room and what you see.
The First Lady's husband is you, Joe.
Pardon? That's right. She's fine. It's me. That's not together. The second lady, the first gentleman. How about that? Anyway.
So the president made a gaffe again. Let's not dwell on that too much, but he said, the First Lady's husband. That's you, Joe. You're the First Lady's husband. The President of the United States. First Lady's married to the President. First Lady's husband would be you. But good thing he cleans it up, because then he says, what did he say at the end? It's not, sorry, I'm messed up. It's the first gentleman. Did he just change the gender publicly of his wife, Dr. Jill Biden? Is this the coming out party of Dr. Jill Biden as a trans American? Is that what just happened there, or is it just another Biden gaffe? I need sleep. Shouldn't make those jokes. Maybe, I don't know. It's funny. The First Lady's husband. What an idiot, says Crystal in the comment section. Just for the record, too, I'm not trying to belittle the idea of the second gentleman getting COVID. I hope he's going to be fine. And at the same time, he's going to be fine. Statistically, not in any harm's way whatsoever. Unless he has dirt on the Clintons. Anyways, that's going to do it for us today. Really appreciate you sticking around with us throughout the whole show. Tomorrow's going to be interesting because I'm really excited. Not excited. I'm curious to see how the Zelensky message to Congress ends up playing out. We'll see over the course of the day what people in Congress say, what the constituents say, what the president says, and we'll bring that all to you tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Oh, also, there's my social media stuff right there. Candace Owens. We like Candace Owens. Candace Owens is great. I was on the Candace Owens show in Nashville yesterday, which aired at 9 p.m. It's up on the Daily Wire. So if you want to check me out, I'm sure there'll be clips on YouTube of that show. had a really great time talking with one Candace, and then also a Daily Caller alum, Benny Johnson, was also on the panel with me. So go check that out. Really good time on the Candace Owens show called Candace. So promo there. Also, yeah, follow me on any social media accounts. Just type in JOBOB. You'll find me. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow from the same hotel room here in Phoenix. See you then. God bless America.